thousand ways to die. Black smoke fills my lungs every time we kiss. Tie your hair and turn away. I watch you disappear. I want you to stay.
Oh wow, what a beautiful day here. So we have started a completely new season of the Flow SMP, and this one is more so based off of Industrial Adventures. So completely new mod pack also. If you don't know, and I have no clue how you wouldn't know, Create Aeronautics came out very recently, and we've started a server that has Create Aeronautics as well as a bunch of other Create add-ons on the server. So a lot of these builds will be pretty heavily modded, and a lot of cool new tricks to use in all of these builds, and a lot more utility, I think, as well. We have base camp set up for our new city, and I've joined a bunch of new people from last season, and we're doing a Cowboy Bebop theme. I want to mention one thing really quickly before we get started. There are a decent amount of visual bugs in this season, as well as in this video, due to my least favorite mod loader ever, NeoForge.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
But we persevere. Foxy has a little bit of issues with NeoForge, as well as I think with my laptop in general. So there are moments in the background where it's glitching, and I can't really do anything about it. So I did mention Cowboy Bebop. If you don't know what Cowboy Bebop is somehow, Cowboy Bebop is this late 90s anime that basically mixed sci-fi, westerns, noir films, jazz, and old crime movies together into one world. It came out in 1998, but it still feels weirdly modern because the future in the show isn't really clean or perfect, and everything feels worn down and lived in, like western but still urban at the same time. The cities are crowded and the technology is old and patched together, and most people are just trying to make rent or fuel up their ship. It's one of those shows where the setting itself ends up being just as memorable as the characters, if not more so. So for these set of builds, we've taken inspiration from the first episode, Asteroid Blues, specifically the Tijuana colony. The thing I like most about it was how grounded it feels. The future there looks less giant with neon skyscrapers and more like old gas stations and repair garages and cramped apartments and industrial infrastructure stacked over time. So we're going for a bit more of that vibe this season. I'm gonna start farming a bit though, because I don't really have a food source, and we have a lot of materials covered, but food is not one of them. That, and I think because I'm going for this yellow mechanic shop that appeared in one of the later episodes, it's a very yellow building, and hay bales would be perfect for that, as well as bamboo. Let's hop on over and start the base of this thing now. So I have the concrete pad built out, but I want to build the base of this. It kind of looks like a trailer almost. So a bit of a building built on top of something. Again, very yellow. So we're going with a gray-based contrast that, and we're gonna stack up this building on top of it. Because it's a mechanic garage, there's a lot of different Create blocks that I think I can use, and I honestly didn't really build with Create that much last season. Towards the end of the season, we did add Create, which is why we had that massive ship, which was built by Tote, who's also part of this city this season. And I think that all of those blocks are really interesting and going to be really challenging for me to use. So I have these railings, at least that I've started with. Everything else is pretty damn vanilla so far. But we got the front of this, so let's try to build the back. So in this porching area, I want to add a little bit more detail so it looks a little bit more cluttered, kind of like the place is part of a fuel stop or a truck stop. And I'm gonna layer a ton of blocks in order to do that. I think double layering glass panes is a great way of doing so, and I really am just a sucker for tinted glass because it makes the interior of builds darker, and I think it creates a good contrast, especially with the exterior of the building. So that iron bars, copper I think is another good block to use for this. And in order to make this a gradient and not just one shade of build, I'm gonna add some birch in there, as I think that works as a pretty decent gradient from bamboo upwards. Okay, time to work a little bit more on the inside. So I don't know why I decided to build up only the front wall, but I'm gonna go ahead and build up the back here. I have a little bit of these blocks going back, and I think I'm gonna make this a little bit more gradient going backwards, but this should be about the dimensions of the building. I might have to make it a little bit wider. This is going to end up being my house in the end, as I am really adamant that I need a base every single season, and I've been really bad about it in the past, so this will be where I set up shop. Because of Create, we actually have a communal storage system that I'll show y'all later on. And the communal storage system is manned by some kind of mob. So we had a cow at one point, we switched to a pig, and I think we're back to a cow somehow. But the storage system, you can essentially order items from your own storage from that mob, and the items get packaged and sent out to the barrel. So that way it's as if copper golems were way, way more efficient and you could order items from the copper golems instead. But because Create Aeronautics is only offered on 1.21.1, it is definitely an older version and we do not have copper golems. We have backported a decent amount of mods, but I feel like copper golems is just not one of those that you need with Create. I'm gonna make this little capsule for my bed because I think it fits with the Cowboy Bebop spaceship vibe very well. I saw this one screenshot that I believe was from the Swordfish 2, which is the red ship from Cowboy Bebop, and I think this gives off that kind of Swordfish 2 bed vibe that has a very sheltered and cocooned bed that I think almost all cyberpunk genres tend to have with interior spaces. And I'm gonna set up a kitchen as well because we have Farmer's Delight and I love using Farmer's Delight so much. I think it's honestly top 10 mod of all time. It's just such a good, well-rounded mod, and I think when you get to being really bored in the game, I personally either resort to fishing or creating a bunch of stuff with Farmer's Delight, so this will be my main space for Farmer's Delight, as I don't think we have another space like that in the city so far. And I'm adding these reflective panels to the roof. I think they're probably supposed to be solar panels, but from the reference image that I have, it's a little bit unclear on what they're supposed to be. I'm layering them with windows though, because I don't see a point in doing solar panels in actuality. I think we have a solar panel-esque block with Create, but this works better. Okay, I've gotten a few more things, and I have to complete the roof of this building. It's not going to be a very big building, because I don't really see the point of having a huge mega base and the mechanic shop in the reference photo isn't that big anyways. It has a few cars on the exterior of the building, and I found another random reference that has a gas tank, but I think I'll go ahead and build that outside on the concrete pad later. Let me finish off this roof. I'm gonna be honest, this roof kind of plagued me this entire time. I think I redid it twice or thrice, and I think only one of those times were shown, but the dimensions of everything didn't really make sense to me. And because I was following only a flat reference photo and I didn't really have any angles of the building that I was following, I was trying to do my best to create a roof that was kind of domed in a way, but I don't want it to be too awkward of a Minecraft roof, so I was only following the reference to a certain extent. And I thought past a certain point, the reference wasn't very helpful, and this was unfortunately kind of that point. So I had a little rooftop lookout in the back, which came in handy later for building a tree, but I think it's just a nice touch and it adds something a little bit more interesting on the back of the roof as well. And then there's the smokestack. So while I go ahead and build this gas tank, I'm sure you've noticed by now that my Minecraft skin has changed completely, and my Minecraft skin is actually based off of Zero's. Zero's is the pet cat from Cowboy Bebop of E.T., basically her trucking buddy on all the runs, and I wanted a skin to match this season's theme. I know last season I added cybernetics to my skin as the season went on, and I thought this was kind of fitting. Definitely next season I'll end up changing it and I'll match the skins to the world because I think it's a pretty nice touch to do and there's no harm in doing so. But I'll stick with the cats because I don't know, I feel like doing cats. I was trying to do a gradient on this gas tank going upwards, and we had yellow shipping containers as part of one of the create mods. So I was trying to create a darker bottom with the yellow shipping containers being on the top. And then I topped it with hay bales because I think it's like a really nice highlight color, and definitely a lot brighter than the yellow shipping containers. And because we have create, there are these copycat blocks which allow me to do vertical half slabs, and I can put almost any single block that I want inside of the vertical half slabs. So I did a mixture of yellow terracotta and the hay bales, basically following the same gradient that I did. The unfortunate part is that the yellow shipping containers, I think because they're a functional block in actuality, can't be placed inside the half slabs, so I had to make do with what I could. And then I topped this with another layer of panels, I think they're called, and some trapdoors, just so it fit and added a little bit of detail to the top. Okay, time to do something I've never ever done before in Minecraft. I don't know if this counts as an organic. I think I've heard a lot of very loose definitions of the word organic in Minecraft, but it's kind of a set piece, if you will. This futuristic looking car that is supposed to be kind of a sports car that would be parked at this mechanic shop. I think later down the line, I'm gonna add some fueling stations just to fit with the gas tank because I don't really have fueling stations going on. But I think the blue contrasts all the yellow that's happening right now around the entirety of the base. And it's just like a fun, sporty color. And we had dark prismarine pretty early on because the wonderful part about being a member of a city is that a lot of other members will also collect materials. Aquapanic is one of the other members we have that is really material gathering oriented, and he's gathered a lot of blocks. I'm pretty sure he was the one who grabbed this dark prismarine. So I'm really thankful to have other members to assist me with all of the hard parts of builds sometimes. I feel like it's so much nicer to work together with people and to be able to build with multiple people's skill sets on display. I'm kind of following this one image I found of, I think it was a Lamborghini Countach, but it didn't really look like a Lamborghini Countach. I felt like the wing was a better opportunity to use the copycat blocks. I was trying to avoid, for some weird reason, I was trying to avoid using a lot of copycat blocks for the car. I don't know why. In my head, it felt a little bit cheatsy, even though that doesn't really logically make sense. I mean, it's a create-based season. But I thought it would be more interesting to use a little bit more of the naturally occurring blocks, like slabs and stairs, to create the general shape of this build. And I think it avoids me from getting a little bit too detailed with the build. The other thing about create copycats is I think they're technically an entity, so they disappear at a further distance, and I was just trying to avoid that. This is our friendly pig that I was talking about. I don't think he's with us anymore, unfortunately, but you can order stuff from him, and the pig delivers the stuff in the barrel at the side of the storeroom. And because we have many other members of the city, our city's been fleshed out really, really nicely, and we have a lot of new builds coming along. You may be able to see that through the background of this video, and we've had a lot of larger buildings pop up due to Tote. Tote is a powerhouse of a builder who builds at an insane rate that I cannot fathom keeping up with. He's built a hotel, he's built around like 3 or 4 other, I don't know if I would call them skyscrapers, but very, very large urban buildings throughout this time. And I think for my next round of builds, in my next video, I'm gonna follow a little bit more of his footsteps and do larger buildings at a faster pace. I think these just look so good. They're so urban and they're so detailed. A lot of the interior spaces are done as well, which I think is very rare to find nowadays in Minecraft building. And there's just so much thought put into every single one of these buildings and so much good utilization of different blocks and block palettes. It's so impressive, and it's so great to be building with people who can continuously push me to build better and bigger and a different variety of building styles. I feel like this build needs a little bit of glow ink to make some things pop, as well as to indicate the signage on some of these things. So in the spare area over here, I have a good space for a storeroom, and I was going off of another inspiration that I found that was actually straight up from Minecraft. I don't think any build like this exists, at least in Cowboy Bebop. And to spare you some pain, I've built up these walls with tuff and a mixture of mossy stones. And then I'm adding a little border around the edge, kind of like a garage. I was gonna add garage doors, and I still might in the future, but I kind of like the open look that these garage doors offer. I'm gonna finish off this top border with these furnaces and smokers, and I think they will look really good, especially on alternating angles. And the PBR makes them look really nice as well. Adds a bunch of extra detail, and they look a little bit more functional than just another layer of stone. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and cover them with signs, even though the angles look really nice. I think it'll be a good border detail and not be too busy on the eyes. As you may remember, on the previous season, we had the connecting chains mod, and we don't have that this season. But for some reason, I feel like the chains this season are even more of an issue. I can't swap place them for some reason, so I'm gonna stick to destroying these in order to place them. There we go. Okay, this area looks a little bit empty. So I found this one tree online on Planet Minecraft called a London Plane. And this is another tree by the amazing Malkazar. He's so good at creating real life trees that are survival friendly and fit in really well with the scale of survival builds. Trees that aren't too insanely big, but also aren't really small, because I feel like a good amount of survival trees are a little bit too small and honestly a little bit too skinny, and the branches don't spread out as well. But this tree was a little bit of a headache because it used 3 different types of leaves. I think it was oak, acacia, and azalea leaves, which was a little bit of a hassle to collect, but it turned out really well in the end. And despite the fact that I don't think a London plane typically grows in not London, or as here is a desert landscape, I think that the tree actually fits in really well to the surroundings. And maybe because of the use of sandstone for a lot of the trunk and branches, but I've never seen a tree blend in so well to my build. I think I have to add maybe 1 or 2 other trees later down the line into this base, but this is the perfect finishing touch. And to finish off the surrounding area, I'm gonna finish planting all of the wheat fields and add some water. I saw Mumbo Jumbo use oak planks or oak plank slabs in one of his videos to cover up the pots of water that are amongst all of the wheat. And because oak planks are a pretty close color to like fully mature wheat, I think they look pretty good in the end. I was waiting for all of this to grow, and while I did that, I decided to make the half terrain slabs into paths, which are the same kind of blonde that wheat is. And I think that really finishes off the exterior sides of it. I still gotta finish off the surrounding area, so I'm just gonna add a ton of dry grass and grass to the base of the tree. And I think we need to grab some materials to finish off the store center because it's looking a bit empty inside. I know there's definitely some utility I can use it for. As I previously mentioned, we actually do have a proper storage center for all of the community resources. So this is going to be somewhere between a store area for more wheat, because I think I'll wind up collecting quite a bit of wheat throughout the season, if I'm bored, I find it really fun to farm and, like I said earlier, make some stuff on Farmer's Delight. So this might end up being a Farmer's Delight storeroom as well. And I'm just gonna frame it out with some wheat and bamboo in the meantime. Let's grab some final materials to finish this thing off. I think I need a bit more bamboo and some birch to add a little bit of detail. Maybe some andesite alloy as well would help. Okay, time to head back. Okay, let's light this interior up a little bit more. It's looking a little bit too dark in here. I don't think it's completely correct to add a bunch of lanterns around, as I think a little bit more rustic sense of lighting is going to look a lot better. And this middle area is looking a bit blank, so while the edge tends to be wheat, I think I might make the center area some bamboo. Yeah, this is looking pretty good. I'm gonna finish off this catwalk. And maybe I'll add a little bit more to this bar area. There's this one photo I saw of a bar in Tijuana from Cowboy Bebop that has a kind of rustic, unfinished vibe to it. So I'm gonna toss that in here, and I think later down the line I'll maybe add a bartender and some actual proper bar seating. And it'll look really good from there on out. But I'll add one more shipping container, and I think once I get this situated correctly, that about wraps it up.
I was born